Ever wonder why a bunny brings eggs at Easter? It seems random, right? A rabbit, a symbol of new life, delivering eggs, another symbol of new life to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. For centuries, people have celebrated Easter with these traditions, but where did they really come from? Are they purely Christian, or do they have deeper, more ancient roots? Today, we are going to peel back the layers of history and mythology to uncover the surprising and controversial origins of the Easter Bunny. We'll journey back thousands of years to ancient Mesopotamia, explore the tales of powerful gods and goddesses, and see how their stories might have woven themselves into the fabric of one of Christianity's most important holidays. Is the cute, fluffy bunny we know and love a modern invention, or is it a remnant of a pagan past, linked to deities like Baal, Ishtar, and Tammuz? Get ready, because the story is far more complex and fascinating than you might imagine. To understand the Easter Bunny, we need to start not in a grassy field, but in the ancient Near East, with a pantheon of powerful deities. One of the central figures in this story is Ishtar, the Mesopotamian goddess of love, war, and crucially fertility. She was a major figure worshipped for thousands of years. Her consort was Tammuz, a god associated with vegetation and the changing seasons. Some traditions even link Tammuz back to a legendary king named Nimrod, who was also known by other names like Baal, the powerful Canaanite god of storms and fertility. The story goes that after Nimrod's death, his wife Semiramis, who is often equated with Ishtar, claimed to have conceived a son, Tammuz, through a miraculous immaculate conception brought about by the rays of the sun, which was associated with Baal. This divine birth story set the stage for a powerful annual drama. According to the myth, Tammuz, the god of the harvest and new growth, met a tragic end. He was killed, often depicted as being gored by a wild boar. His death plunged the world into sorrow. Ishtar, his lover and mother, was devastated. She descended into the underworld to rescue him, and her grief was mirrored by her followers on earth. For a period of 40 days, they would mourn and weep for the loss of Tammuz. This period of lamentation is seen by some as a precursor to the Christian tradition of Lent, the 40 days of fasting and penitence before Easter. The mourning would end when Tammuz was miraculously resurrected, brought back from the dead, symbolizing the return of spring, the sprouting of new crops, and the rebirth of life after the desolation of winter. This cycle of death and rebirth was central to their beliefs, and it was celebrated with symbols of life and fertility. This is where we see the first potential connection to our Easter traditions. In these ancient fertility cults, certain animals and objects became sacred. The rabbit, known for its incredible ability to reproduce, quickly became a powerful symbol of fertility and new life, intrinsically linked to the life-giving power of the resurrected Tammuz. Similarly, the egg, a universal symbol of new beginnings and potential life, was also revered. It represented the promise of rebirth, perfectly echoing the story of Tammuz's return. So, in these ancient rituals celebrating the turn of the season, we have a period of mourning followed by a joyous celebration of resurrection, all marked by symbols of fertility like rabbits and eggs. Sound familiar? Now let's fast forward a few centuries. As Christianity began to spread across Europe, it encountered a rich tapestry of existing pagan cultures and traditions. Early missionaries often faced a choice: completely eradicate the local beliefs or find a way to blend them with Christian teachings. This process, known as syncretism, was a common strategy to make conversion easier and more palatable for local populations. Instead of forcing people to abandon their deeply ingrained festivals, the Church often repurposed them, giving them new Christian meanings. Many of the most important dates in the Christian calendar, like Christmas, happen to coincide with major pagan festivals, like the winter solstice. Easter is no different. It falls right in the heart of spring, a time when countless cultures were already celebrating renewal and rebirth. One of the key figures in this transition is a Germanic goddess named Deistri, or Ostara. The main source we have for her is the 8th century English monk, the Venerable Bede. He wrote that the month we now call April was once called Eastermanath in Old English, named after the goddess Eistri, in whose honor feasts were celebrated. Eistri was a goddess of the dawn, spring, and new beginnings. The thematic similarities between Eistri and Ishtar are striking. Both are powerful female deities linked to fertility and the renewal of life in the springtime. The very name Easter is widely believed to have derived from her name, Eistri. According to legend, Easter was associated with the hare, an animal that, like the rabbit, was a potent symbol of fertility and the arrival of spring. One popular tale, though it's likely a modern creation, tells of Easter transforming a bird into a hare that could still lay colorful eggs. This brings us to the Easter bunny itself, or as it was originally known, the Osterhase, which means Easter hare in German. The first documented mentions of this tradition appear in German writings from the 15th and 16th centuries. The tradition held that the Osterhase was a kind of judge. It would decide whether children had been good or bad during the Easter season and would then deliver colored eggs to the well-behaved ones. German immigrants brought this folklore with them when they settled in America, particularly in Pennsylvania in the 1700s. Over time, the tradition spread, the hare evolved into the cuter, more child-friendly bunny, and the practice of making nests for the bunny to lay its eggs and evolved into the modern Easter basket. So, how does this all connect? We see a powerful blending of themes. The core Christian message of Easter is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the ultimate symbol of new life and victory over death. This profound spiritual concept was introduced into cultures that were already celebrating the physical resurrection of the natural world every spring. The themes of resurrection, central to both the Tammuz myth and the Christian narrative, became intertwined. The symbols of these pagan spring festivals, the rabbit or hare and the egg, representing fertility and new life, were not discarded. Instead, they were absorbed and given new meaning within the Christian context. The egg, once a symbol of pagan rebirth, could now be seen as a symbol of the empty tomb. The rabbit, a sign of earthly fertility, could represent the abundance of new life in Christ. So, is the Easter bunny pagan or Christian? The answer isn't a simple yes or no. The idea of a rabbit delivering eggs is not found in the Bible. In fact, there's no direct, unbroken historical line proving that the modern Easter bunny is a direct descendant of a rabbit worshipped in Ishtar's cult. While Ishtar was associated with many symbols, the rabbit and egg are not explicitly listed among them in ancient texts. The link to Tammuz and Ishtar is more thematic than historical. What we see is a fascinating convergence of ideas. The ancient world was filled with stories of dying and rising gods, like Tammuz, that explained the cycle of the seasons. These stories used powerful symbols of fertility, like rabbits and eggs. Later, the Germanic goddess Easter was associated with the hare and the spring festival that likely gave Easter its name. When Christianity arrived, these pre-existing cultural elements didn't just vanish. The powerful themes of rebirth and the potent symbols of new life were too ingrained to be ignored. The German Osterhase tradition appears to be the most direct ancestor of our modern Easter bunny, but the cultural soil in which that tradition grew was already fertilized by centuries of pagan spring celebrations. The Easter bunny, as we know it, is a relatively modern figure, popularized from German folklore. However, the symbols it carries and the time of year it appears are deeply rooted in ancient traditions that predate Christianity by thousands of years. It's a perfect example of syncretism, a beautiful and sometimes confusing blend of old and new. The story of the Easter bunny is not just about a cute character. It's about how cultures evolve, how beliefs merge, and how ancient symbols can find new life and new meaning across the ages. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into history and mythology. What do you think? Does this change how you see the Easter bunny? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed unraveling this historical mystery, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the hidden stories behind our traditions. See you next time.